Welcome to all. My name is Lisa Keller, President of Autism National Committee, or AutCom. This year, AutCom's Board of Directors decided to hold what will be a series of free webinars rather than an in-person conference. This is done in part to keep everyone safe and also to make it accessible to more people. Thank you for joining us. And remember, please, that even though this is a free webinar, AutCom is an all-volunteer organization that relies on your membership fees and donations. So we encourage you to donate as you can and join or renew your membership. In deciding on a topic for this series, we wanted to explore something that's relevant to everyone. Our goal is to learn more and to build bridges within the autism community that could help us all move forward together in our understanding and advocacy. The phrase, when you've met one autistic, you've met one autistic, is very true. Each autistic has a different upbringing and different educational experience, which can either enhance or limit their lives. Autistics who speak as their primary means of communications experience different challenges than do those who use alternative and augmentative means of communication, or AAC. And there are those who still have yet to gain access to a robust, full language means of communication. Some autistics spent their early years in an institution, or they were segregated into special education classes with no real academic curricula. There was limited or no focus on access to AAC methods or literacy. Compare that to speaking autistics who received a general academic education, but still felt singled out by their own real and perceived differences from their classmates. Each group felt isolated and misunderstood. In the past 30 years, much has been written about and researched in the field of autism. Autistics have been encouraged to participate in drug studies, have their brains mapped, their blood analyzed, and more. Some acquiesced willingly, others, because they were not their own guardians, perhaps not so willingly. Those who could speak could often describe what they were going through. The autistics who were minimally speaking or non-speaking could not express what they experienced. However they expressed themselves, we wanted to know what worked, what didn't work, what wisdom had they acquired about themselves and about their condition. Most of all, how can the people in their lives help them move forward and help each one achieve the best quality of life? We decided that hearing from many people with various experiences would be valuable. We wanted to hear directly from people who live the autistic experience. Our panel today is all autistic. In our second webinar coming in April, we will hear from parents of autistics, some of whom are autistic themselves. We'll hear what it was like as they raised an autistic child. They'll share their success and failures in order to provide hope and encouragement to other parents. Please listen to our panelists with open minds, and if necessary, rethink your approach to autism. Now, I'll let you know the chat feature is not available for this webinar. However, you'll be invited to share your questions and comments after each panelist has given their responses to each section. There's a Q&A feature on your screen. If you have further questions, comments, and feedback, you are invited to email us at autcom.org@gmail.com. This is being recorded and will be on YouTube under the title, Looking Back, Looking Forward. Okay. To start the webinar, I would like to introduce you to Alan Kurtz, PhD and Vice President of AutCom. Alan is a former special educator and recently retired from the Center of Community Inclusion and Disability Studies at the University of Maine. Alan has a younger brother who is autistic and is a close friend of an autistic man who lived with Alan and his wife, for 11 years. Hi, Alan.
Hi. Yes, I am a family member and a professional. I think growing up with a younger autistic brother, I learned a lot of things that I unlearned as I became a professional. A lot of important things I unlearned. So when I started working with my friend Jay many years later, I was really fully accepting of what professionals were saying. And that was the most important thing we have to do is get his behavior under control. Fortunately, Jay was able to teach me that was completely the wrong focus. When he eventually moved into my home, I remember this vividly. He walked into the kitchen with a glass of juice and he spilled it on the floor and he looked at me and he had this expression of fear on his face. Like, what are you going to do? Now, my training told me I need to make him clean that up. But I looked at that expression on his face and I had an insight that really changed the way I interacted with him forever. And that was, he was telling me and he was teaching me that what was most important for him was to know that he was safe. And we knew that most of the things that professionals were doing at the time was doing just the opposite. I know that Jay wishes that I and other professionals had known that earlier. I think that's one of the many reasons why I share with other AutCom members a commitment to hear from autistic individuals about what works for them, to look both backward, to more fully understand what worked and didn't work in the past, but at the same time to look forward as we explore together what will work best for autistic individuals. And with that, I turn it over to the experts. Max?
Hello, everybody. I am Maxfield Sparrow. I am on the AutCom board, and I am autistic myself, as well as being an advocate and an author. I'm here to facilitate this discussion among our marvelous panelists. I'm going to ask them questions and also introduce them to you one by one. And I ask that you please be patient because we all have different ways to communicate. Some of us need a little extra time for typing and answering, while others, like myself, are able to very rapidly use our voice. So please slow yourself down and tune in to what everyone has to say. I'm going to start with Jamie Burke. Jamie Burke is 36 years old and a graduate of Syracuse University with a BA degree from the College of... Jamie has used supported typing since age 5 and has progressed from supported typing to independent typing and typing with 2 hands. He attributes much of his life's success to years of innovative therapies and, most importantly, to full access of regular education classrooms. Growing up as an autistic person, what do you wish you had known about your autism?
Good morning, everyone. Lovely to be here. I hope this will be interesting and helpful. From my perspective, I was so young in my tender year of free when my parents were told I had autism. My mom told me about my autism when I was 5 years old. When I did go to public school, I challenged their reality. I did not understand then that the reason I was not able to speak the words I was seeing in my brain was my autism. I did not know if there were wrong workings of my brain and body, and that was frustrating and terrifying. I believe perhaps that more information might assist people to know it is a risk to begin this journey for those who use their effortless voice, but knowing it is courageous to truly evolve in the presumption of competence and motor planning understanding that could initiate movement for all. I was fortunate to go to a preschool here in Syracuse that offered a joyous, inclusive opportunity. It's a junior school there. I was able to learn and utilize typed communication. I was able to begin to live in a world of engagement. My desire is that people need to understand how paramount communication is to life. This is a process, and I believe they need to know it is not rocket science. In being told of autism, I do believe that knowing the reason why my structure of processing was difficult was helpful, but hard to know in my heart. Perhaps more likely give information, but give hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. That was wonderful. Next, we have Ivanova Smith. Ivanova Smith, BA, is the self-advocate faculty for the UW Leadership Education in Neurodevelopmental and Related Disabilities, or LEND program, Hub team faculty for Project ECHO, Autism Washington, and for At Work Activist Advocates. Ivanova is happily married with 2 daughters. Ivanova, I ask you the same question. Growing up as an autistic person, what do you wish you had known about your autism?
Ivanova Smith, and for a long time I wasn't told about my autism, and so I did not know why I stemmed. I walked back and forth, and I had sensory issues, and it made life really hard because basically what I was told my disabilities would go away. Like, I was adopted when I was 5.5, and I was institutionalized, and I didn't know, I didn't even know what my name was when I was 5.5. I couldn't speak or anything. And my adopted family brought me here to the United States, and they didn't tell me about my disabilities because the adoption agency told them not to tell me about my disabilities, and that my disabilities would go away. And so I lived with all these sensory issues, like anytime I would touch styrofoam or the feel of rain was really painful, and I couldn't explain why it was so painful. But like certain sounds and sensory stuff was really painful, and I didn't know there was a name for that until I became an adult and I learned about what sensory issues were and I found my old documents from the institution, and that's why I found out that I was autistic, because there was all no documents. And it was life-changing when I found out, because I then was figured out, like, okay, now I know what to avoid. Now I know, okay, this is why I have struggles with certain things. This is why I can't look at people in the eye. This is why I struggle with emotions. Like, that's another big struggle I have with emotions. I get mostly deregulated very easily over very little things. So a lot of times people say I make a mountain out of a molehill. And so that's a big struggle I have. And knowing about my autism and how that affects me has really helped.
Thank you very much. The next panelist is Yasmin Arshad. Yasmin Arshad was born in Florence, Italy, and came to the US at age 7. She is a successful artist whose art sells at the Gateway store in Massachusetts. She has exhibited at the Fuller Art Museum, Brockton, Massachusetts, the Outsider Art Fair, New York City, in London, and in Tokyo. She writes poetry, enjoys traveling, walking, horseback riding, snowshoeing, and going to the symphony. Yasmin enjoys pondering the big questions. What is the origin of life, of eternity? Her true joy in life is now being able to communicate. Yasmin, I will ask you the same question. Growing up as an autistic person, what do you wish you had known about your autism?
I apologize. I thought it was actually reading it. All right, here's what she wrote. I did not get labeled autistic till I was in my 30s. Prior to that, I was said to be developmentally delayed, pervasive at that. The reality of my intelligence was ignored. I was designated as someone who could not ever progress beyond the level of a young child. When the label changed to autism, I was surprised, but nothing really changed till I learned to type at 42. The term autism means absolutely anything from what I've learned. It seems like just a convenient way to classify people who don't fit in the norm. It makes me angry. It is racist and discriminating.
Thank you so much. Our next panelist is Sujit Kurup. Sujit is a social and warm person by nature who loves the outdoors. He writes poetry, makes abstract paintings, and has a degree in business administration from SUNY College, New York. He is currently the new treasurer of AutCom. Sujit, I ask you, growing up as an autistic person, what do you wish you had known about your autism?
Hello, friends. It is my pleasure to be on this esteemed panel with my dear friends, and I thank AutCom for giving me this opportunity. I am Sujit Kurup. I am 28 years old with a degree in business administration from City College in Syracuse. I am autistic and I communicate through typing on the iPad. I have been presenting at workshops and conferences regularly, advocating typing to communicate for minimally speaking individuals. I volunteer as a typer trainer at the Inclusion and Communication Initiatives, Syracuse University's training workshops. Currently, I am volunteering as treasurer at Autism National Committee. I love the outdoors and hiking is my favorite activity. I also ski and nude skate. My favorite game is basketball. Painting, poetry, and music are my favorite among arts. I find music to be so touching, truly drawn to my innermost soul. I like to be active and participate in community activities, and I do not let my disability define me. I believe in inclusiveness and providing equal opportunities and level playing field to people with disabilities. Every individual has great potential waiting to be tapped. I have a uniquely different story from my panelist friends here. I was born in New Delhi, India, and moved to the United States when I was 13. Even though autism awareness was minimal in India at the time, and autism did not figure in the government of India's list of disabilities, I got an autism diagnosis when I was 3. This was made possible thanks to my so dedicated parents. It took me to the premier institute in New Delhi, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and their perseverance to provide me with the best support and help. I was not aware I had autism till I went to elementary school at age 5. I saw I was different from other students there. I was the most hyperactive and restless one. I was a runner. I remember this fact very well. My mom would hold on to my arm tightly, as if holding on to dear life, and never let go whenever we stepped out of the house. Before that, when I was in the kindergarten, I never realized I was different. Mostly because the teachers never fostered any differentiation among the students. I had been around old with no speech when I realized that having autism meant I had difficulty in communicating and didn't have any friends who would play with me. I was at that time at Action for Autism Open Doors School, a nonprofit experimental school run by a parent. It was a one-of-a-kind at that time and provided good support to me in the initial days. It was at Open Door I learned the true realities of life with autism. At Open Door I did get some exposure to real curriculum. There were dedicated teachers who wanted to help and provide skilled training to work through my movement challenges. My mom too read plenty of books and literature, attended workshops on autism to help me through the challenges. The occupational therapy sessions I attended helped me tremendously in my body regulation.
Thank you very much. Our next panelist is Gloria Mendoza. Gloria is an associate project manager at SAP North America in Newton Square, Pennsylvania. She came into SAP via the Autism at Work program, where leadership there saw her difference as a strength instead of a weakness. Throughout her life, Gloria faced many obstacles as a person on the autism spectrum, but despite this, she is breaking down barriers as a successful individual. Gloria, growing up as an autistic person, what do you wish you had known about your autism?
Thank you, Max. Honestly, I could write a whole book about my young life on the autism spectrum, but I'm going to keep it brief here. I never knew I was autistic until I was in 7th grade when we were doing a unit in the human body. So I grew up all of elementary school and the majority of middle school never knowing I was autistic. When I felt isolated in the classroom or disciplined by a lot of my teachers, I never really understood why I was the way I was. And I always thought the therapy sessions that I went to, such as speech therapy or occupational therapy, were just me talking to doctors. I didn't know it was related to managing the fact that I was autistic. I saw this enlightening video when I was in middle school that talked about autism, and I noticed, hey, a lot of the symptoms that were described were very close to home to me. And I asked my parents, am I autistic? And they told me I was. I finally understood why I was the way I was, and I was able to better manage the behaviors and the symptoms of autism. But it wasn't just because of that. I had my parents that were fighting for me my whole life, as well as my sister who offered me support, and a lot of the guidance counselors and therapists that I worked with that were very supportive. And I would like to thank all of them for how I am today.
Thank you, Gloria. We had listed another panel member, Jacob Pratt, who is unable to be with us because of illness in the family. But I would like to take this opportunity to read his bio anyway, so that we can remember that he was going to be here. My name is Jacob Pratt. I live in my house by myself. I have staff who support me, including one who is learning to support my typing. I used to present at lots of conferences, but this is my first public appearance in a while. I used to travel to other states like Washington, Texas, and Minnesota. Now I will only go places by car because I had an awful time the last time I flew. I've taken college classes and am in between jobs now. I'm excited to be speaking in public again. And again, we're very sorry that Jacob couldn't be here, but I wanted him to be remembered. And hopefully he will be able to be at the next event he schedules. Going on to question 2, we're going in the same order. So we're going back to Jamie again. Jamie Burke, what are some things people in your life could have done that would have been helpful?
There are many that could have assisted in asking to know more fully about my autism. Not freely communicating was very hard for many to understand. Even though I could be moving freely in my body, I had elevated anxiety with many requests being asked of me. I do not believe they believed I was listening and thinking. Absolutely, more true information would have been vital to their understanding. Engaging me with no fear would have been helpful, and then to give me more moments of time to respond. Many times I would be answering in my brain when their legs were carrying them away. I would certainly desire that people would not be nervous to engage my type of communication. Your knowledge is my power. Helpful therapies that assisted my sensory difficulties was paramount. I do believe that more people must seek out the information and then utilize that information to help the body and brain work together. Please learn about therapies that support crossing the midline of the body and others that assist in eye and hand coordination. A great help is an OT who is knowledgeable and lovely in conducting sensory therapies. We need many more. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Next, we go to Ivanova. And the same question, what are some things people in your life could have done that would have been helpful?
What I think I would have found helpful is if I would have been allowed to be more connected to my community back when I was younger. I dealt with a lot of internalized ableism because I wasn't told about my disabilities, but I was in special education, and so I was bullied a lot, but I was never told why I was in special education. And so it just was very confusing for me. And so if somebody who talked to me about disability pride and that it's okay to be disabled, that's not a bad thing, that would have really helped. I think somebody helping my parents understand that too. With the adoption agency that my parents went through were better, gave them better information, and it connected them to DD services for both the mild fetal alcohol spectrum stuff and autism. I think it would have helped my adopted parents a lot. But at the same time, I am very glad that my adopted parents did not support mental age theory, and a lot of families get suckered into that mental age theory stuff. And so I'm really grateful my parents didn't, and they believed I'd grow up just like anyone else. And but I think I would have liked to gotten to be around more of my peers and been allowed to identify with my disability, because for a long time I wasn't allowed to identify with it. I wasn't allowed to talk about it. I wasn't allowed to be around other disabled people in my youth because my parents literally said this to the schools: we don't want her associated, we don't want her identifying. They didn't want me to identify with my disabilities, but these disabilities are permanent. They don't just go away. And so I wish that somebody would have told them early on, no, these disabilities are not going to go away. She's always going to have they're all going to have these disabilities. So I think that would have been really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And joyful noises from your family. I love hearing the little kids.
Oh, thank you.
Yasmin, it is your turn for question number 2. What are some things people in your life could have done that would have been helpful?
My mother never gave up on me. Some cannot see beyond my facade, but my mother tried everything she could think of to give me a good life. Maybe if she had heard about facilitated communication, we would have tried it sooner. I stopped speaking in my teens. It really became more and more frustrating not to be understood. Words still pour out of my mouth, but I am so anxious that nothing I want to say comes out, only absurdities. I was often interpreted literally, so I got lots and lots of penguins and snowmen, when what I was really trying to say is how autism isolates me as if I'm frozen. If only someone had focused on other methods of communication instead of my voice. No one knew what my interests really were. I wish my teachers along the way had tried FC. Such a waste. Now it is much harder for me to be disciplined enough to be able to type completely independently.
Thank you, Yasmin. I wish you had had those things too. Our next panelist is Sujit. Sujit, what are some things people in your life could have done that would have been helpful?
In the early days, there was not much knowledge about the motor planning difficulties that people with developmental disabilities had. Now we know from the research over the past 2 decades that autism is a sensory and movement disorder from neurological differences. These differences can involve difficulties initiating and executing movements, including speech, thought, and emotion, making social relationships and many other activities very challenging, even overwhelming. Now there is more understanding that the difficulties an autistic person may have in organizing and regulating sensation and movement in order to interact as per socially accepted norms and behavior. I was aware often of my idiosyncrasies, but was not able to control them. However, I desperately wanted to communicate, participate in activities with friends. People used to interpret my actions and behavior as being defiant and non-compliant. My cognitive ability was also in doubt, as there was no way for me to communicate my thoughts and feelings. I still vividly remember watching longingly children in my neighborhood play cricket, and I would wish to be included. They would let me collect any stray ball coming my way and throw it back. I was a good thrower. My mom even engaged a trainer to help me learn the game, which I picked up quickly, despite that I was never fully included in the game. Maybe my lack of social interaction and odd body movements was not helpful. When I moved to United States at age 13, I found supported typing, and my life was changed forever. Before that, I was unable to express myself and communicate my thoughts and emotions. People started looking at me differently. I got my place, my dignity, as people saw I too had feelings and a thoughtful mind, showing what a cool and smart person I really was. I wanted nearly all persons without a voice to get a means to communicate like I did and be set free from their prison of silence. At my middle school, I was placed in a community-based class that focused on life skills and not much real education. I got included in high school, but I wanted to get on the Regents diploma track. Therefore, I had to move to another school district. The school team there was very supportive and dedicated and helped me earn a Regents diploma. I wish more educators are as supportive as they were to provide with quality education and learning. This would have saved so much of my struggle to get opportunities for real education.
Thank you, Sujit. Next on our panel is Gloria. Gloria, what are some things people in your life could have done that would have been helpful?
One thing that really frustrated me during my school life was how transitioning from middle school and high school, the services available for someone with autism were gradually diminishing. I was fortunate enough to be placed in an elementary school that allowed me to have speech therapy and occupational therapy. But when I went to middle school, all of these services went away except for perhaps creating an IEP, which granted me a list of accommodations, a dedicated period for resource and special needs learning, and during a couple of class periods, I did have a teacher's aide that helped me through a couple of my classes. But other than that, especially when I was in high school, my high school guidance counselors weren't really that very much helpful with figuring out the college admissions process. So I had to get an external guidance counselor outside of the school system, and she was very helpful in guiding me through the application process and how to behave during college interviews. On another note, I was born during a time where autism awareness wasn't really big. So when teachers and other kids saw my behaviors and idiosyncrasies, they just didn't really understood and just assumed I was just some kid with behavioral problems. I wish they all knew what autism was so that they could better handle me.
Thank you, Gloria. We are now on our last question. So we will go back to Jamie again. And this question is, what did you want or need that no one asked you about, but you wish someone did ask?
Well, when I was young, there was information that people knew about from suggestions from my dear family. Those were simply followed, but when I was in middle school, people seemed to believe I had no interest in belonging to groups or to join course. They said that because of how I type of the century issues I was struggling with, they assumed I would not be interested. Here's that they did not truly connect that giving me support to my structure would let me participate. I'd like people to know of the need to not just be academic. A creative lesson for me in saying no thanks was when I was asked about attending the high school dance. I really needed more time and perhaps an opportunity to observe one. The hectic vitality of the room was overwhelming, and the spinning ball light so riled up my anxiety. The room was very hot. It was hell. I must relate that I was respected and did have support as a student with autism who typed to communicate. I wish to have a world connecting and communicating in many different ways elevates the appreciation of our diverse patterns and people. Thank you.
Thank you. The same question now to Ivanova. What did you want or need that no one asked you about, but you wish someone did ask?
I wish that that I would get more support with the executive functioning aspects of my disability and my intellectual struggles, because I'm very verbal now, and I was not speaking when I was 5.5, but now I can't shut up. That's my little joke I make about myself. But I really think that because I'm more verbal now, people don't see like the cognitive struggles that I still have just in my daily life and my adaptive, like I can't drive, and my emotions get in the way of a lot of things, and so I've tried in the past to hold a full-time job, but I couldn't do it, and I couldn't do the administrative aspects, like the paperwork. I have a really hard time with paperwork, and I get through it the sit of my teeth, barely. I'll get through paperwork, but that's one of the struggles I really with, that I could get more supported, but because I'm borderline intellectually disabled, that's not they cut people support services off, and you don't get to have services if you're on one side of that border or not, like it's really hard. It's so like, and as I get older, my brain is gonna get older with me, and so this part thing I'm gonna need more support with as I age, and it's gonna I wish that sometimes I'd get more support with those type of things, but like my executive functioning and paperwork and like things like that. Luckily, my mom does help me a little bit. Like she will take me to my doctor's appointments and help me with those type of logistics. But just there's a lot of things I still try to figure out on my own. That's really hard. And like my house is a mess because I can't get organized. I don't have that organized. A lot of people think autistics are like really organized. Well, I totally destroyed that stereotype because my house is I'm a mess. I can't get organized.
I feel you on that struggle so much. Next on our panelists is Yasmin. What did you want or need that no one asked you about, but you wish someone did ask?
I wish everyone had realized a long time ago that I am a grown woman. I'm really not interested in toys. but I'm wishing for a serious relationship. But sex is not a subject the people around me want to talk about. No doubt people think they need to keep me safe, but I have emotional needs too. Youth has passed me by, but never give up hope. Only wish I had found true love before it became too late to entertain the idea of motherhood. I am glad my family finally realizes I love to travel, wear fashionable clothes, go to the symphony museums, and study astronomy and history.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Next, we have Sujit. Sujit, what did you want or need that no one asked you about, but you wish someone did ask?
For things other than my immediate needs like food, water, wanting to sleep or use the bathroom. Initiation is a big issue. People who know me very well come up with the right support and strategies to help me make the choices to help me communicate my emotional and sensory needs by typing. I am a people pleaser, and generally it is my nature not to make too much demands on others. This can prove counterproductive, and I get overlooked or ignored many times. I would have to become more assertive and draw attention to my presence. Most people who do not know me well and have no understanding of autism tend to make assumptions of me, seeing my idiosyncrasies and my stymie. I wish more people understand this, that I am not the person they see me on the outside with apparently very little to say by using the most accepted form of communication, that is speech. I am a vastly different person inside, with very similar thoughts and feelings as any other person. They would find a person very intensely cool and compassionate, who is very social and committed to building relationship. Autism is very complex and enigmatic in some ways for most people. It could be the difference in the pattern of thinking, among other things. I am very abstract in my thinking, and I get weird ideas in my mind that I want to translate to something tangible. I do that with my painting and my writing. It gives me peace and release, as I do not believe that my thoughts would be then categorized as weird, but as a piece of art. I would like to share a little of my poetic thoughts. Been there many times, greatly free, so many times, of solitude and peace, brighten up the day for me. No one can take that feeling away from me. High reality rarely seen, for the world is so beat, hovering near the eternity of time, and the gallant passage of time, through all mindfully, mad peace with all life's unfilled promises. My painting Inviting Spring, titled Spring Change. It depicts the mystical goodness that comes with spring, really enraptures the senses with its beauty and fills our minds so completely that has us bewitched. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sujit, and what a beautiful painting. I love your work. And that, I'm assuming that painting behind you is one of yours as well, and that is also very beautiful. You're a very talented artist. Our next panelist is Gloria Mendoza again. And our question, oh, thank you, Sujit. He said, yes, that is his painting. Gloria, what did you want or need that no one asked you about, but you wish someone did ask?
If there's one thing I wish that people would ask me about is how I felt about getting accommodation during standardized tests such as the ACT and the SAT. And my response to that would be that I would find the accommodations process overly complicated. First off, they would ask for documentation for that was very recent, like 5 years or earlier. And I found that very ridiculous because autism is something you always have. I mean, yes, I understand why they wanted to do that. You don't want people gaining an unfair advantage, but for people with autism, that's very difficult, especially because autism is something that never really goes away. It's something you always have. Yes, you can manage your symptoms, but there's always going to be something you need to work on. Like, I'm going to take a personal example. I tried applying for accommodations for the SATs, and to get that, I had to go get an evaluation from a psychologist, and they were able to write me some documentation that I could send to the testing agency. But even with all of that, they still wouldn't grant me my extended time or any of the other accommodations that I asked for. I found that extremely frustrating. On a more recent note, when I was getting ready to take my CAPM exam, I was looking through the process of getting accommodations, and they require pretty much the same thing. It got me very upset because, again, I would have to spend a lot of money just to get that evaluation and the documentation, and even then there would be no guarantee I would get that extended time. So yes, I wish they'd simplified the process a little bit for people on the spectrum. At least I was fortunate enough to score as high as I did on those exams and that I was able to get into college. But for people who may be lower on the spectrum, that may be a little difficult. And I think more about them.
Thank you, Gloria. Now, before we go into Q&A, this is a time when our panelists can address what each other has said. Would any of you on the panel like to say something about anything someone else on the panel has said?
Greatly experiencing the intelligence of everybody. Greatly in experiencing the intelligence of everybody.
I really enjoyed especially that Yasmin said about how that's why the live a normal life, and I really feel for that solidarity, and thank you for sharing your insight, your experiences on that. And I'm grateful that you're here. And everyone else on the panel too.
I was thinking about the same processes we all really experience.
And Yasmin typed, hold on, let me get the exact words. Great to hear from all of you. So in the Q&A, I would like to start by thanking DJ Savaries for very supportive comments of, and Yasmin says, we all have struggled. True, I agree. DJ Savaries gave lots of really encouraging, supportive comments in the Q&A and greeted a lot of people. And so we would all like to greet DJ. And oh, Jamie has a PowerPoint.
So Jamie asked me about sharing his PowerPoint. I should have done this earlier. I didn't know I could. Jamie, is there anything that you wanted to say about the PowerPoint, or do you want me to go to a certain part?
I really think it's very helpful to visually see the words.
I agree. I wish we had seen them while you were speaking. It's great to see them now.
We will include them in our notes when the recording is made available.
Excellent. And Sujit shared, I totally can relate to all that everyone said about their struggle to get recognized as intelligent people. And thank you. Thank you, Sujit. Yeah, that's one of the things that gets me so upset, is how often people who struggle to communicate get dismissed as not being there. So thank you for sharing that.
I seem to think we're feeling really the same ideas of correct information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Gloria wrote, finding a job was very difficult because I would never hear back upon submitting job applications, or people would find me awkward in interviews. I totally relate to the fact that everyone's experience and intelligence deserves to be recognized. Absolutely. We're all different on this panel, but I think that is something we all share, is being discounted because we were different and people didn't understand us. I feel solidarity with all of you for that, even though our paths have been so different, all of us. Our own Lisa Keller wanted to add a question to the Q&A, but being on the panel was not allowed to type into the Q&A. She would like to ask the panelists to explain what mental age theory is and how it affects you. I know that Ivanova was the one who mentioned it, so I'll throw that to you, Ivanova.
Yes, this is Ivanova Smith, and I'd be happy to explain that. So, mental age theory is a theory that was used in the medical field, even way back in the eugenics movement, that said that people with intellectual and developmental disability, that we stay mentally at the maturity of children, that we don't become adults. So what they mean by that we can't like consent to things, and we can't be they think that we can't be competent to make our own decisions. And they use functioning, there was a way to explain functioning labels in the early 20th century. They used to call us feeble-minded, and they used mental age theory to categorize us into different functioning labels. And so if your IQ was somewhere in the 70s and 80s, you were considered a moron. And they would say you had the mental age of an 11 to 12-year-old. If you had the IQ of 40s to 60, you were considered an imbecile. And they would say you were mentally a 8-year-old. And then they would restrict people's rights based on that in the institution. So they would justify putting us in the institution because, we can't ever grow up, so we would always have to be careful. And they also used it to say that we can't do adult activities. So try to restrict us from adult activities like intercourse and having children. And so it was actually a justification for sterilization. It was a soft way to justify the eugenic practices like sterilization and institutionalization, and keeping people with IDG who were female, who were assigned female, away from people who were assigned male, to keep up from having intercourse. And so mental age theory is still, there's still uses of it today. A lot of it is in the media, and the way that care services is run, there's a lot of thought that we are mentally children, and still the medical people that still tell parents that their children with IDD will never grow up. And so the parents are left with grieving feelings of hopelessness because they're told that their child will never get to have freedom, or things like they use mental age theory to support the restrictions. I hope that helps explain it, but it's the idea that we are mentally a child, even though, like, I'm a 34-year-old, and there's still times that people call me a kiddo, even though I've had 2 children and I'm married. Just because of my disability, sometimes I still have to deal with people who don't know me, calling me a kiddo, or treating me using a certain voice, a condescending type voice, and things like that. So that's how it
Each year.
impacts my life. But in other people, it impacts them in a way that they literally get forced to be under guardianship, and they don't get to have the right to, choose where they live or what medical care they have or financial. It's a whole mess, and it's very stigmatizing, and it's why I do a lot of work. It's actually what I do, and I'm very passionate about ending that theory and getting all the medical community to start condemning it like we condemn other hateful things that they used to promote, like race realism. Like that was a very bad thing that the medical community in the past used to support, but now like that's condemned and wrong. I want to make sure that mental age theory is seen as the same thing, because it's very harmful to our community.
Oh, yes, very, very well. Very, very difficult things to hear, but such important things to hear. Thank you so much. Our next question comes from Carolyn Ogburn. And Carolyn says, this is so important about executive function. I would love to hear all the panelists talk about what helps them, like what workarounds, what systems, and if they have people to help, what the people do to help with organization.
Sometimes I have friends or family help me, and my husband helps me, but it's hard to keep up, especially when you have 2 kids. So, but I usually try to have my natural supports help me, and things like that. And sometimes if I have the money for it, I sometimes may may have some pay a maid to help me get things cleaned up a little bit, but only when I have the money, which is rare.
For people who might not know the language, can you explain what natural supports are?
Oh, sorry. Natural support is like your friends and family, unpaid support, like support that you don't have to pay them. They're just they help you out of the kindness of the heart, kind of thing, and you know them, they're friends, kind of thing. That's how I define it.
That's how I define it too. I just thought some of our audience might not know the terms. I appreciate you defining it. But it's something that everyone has in their life, whether they have a disability or not, natural supports. Sujit says, I need to be doing body work like infinity walk, neurological drumming, etc. on a daily basis to be able to function. I know what neurological drumming is, but I've never heard of infinity walk. If you feel like telling us what that is, Sujit, I would be very curious to know. Yasmin says, very much wish my workplace would allow me to type at work. I know this would mean having a facilitator, but is that such a big request? No, I don't think that's a big request at all, Yasmin. And Sujit says, infinity walk is walking on a figure 8. I like that. That sounds like that would be very organizing for my nervous system as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, I love the platform swing and infinity walk and bilaterals organizing me.
What are bilaterals, Jamie?
The use of markers to demonstrate lines, circles, X's, and as on an A's on a page of paper there.
So it's using both of your hands at the same time to do something is bilaterals?
Yes, it's very helpful.
I think I've done something similar with red and white pegs where I had to pick up the pegs with both hands and turn them to the other color. And that's hard to do. It's hard to do. So yeah, I can see where that would also be helpful for, yeah.
I actually took video of Jamie doing that, and I can include it when we do the when we send out the recording.
That would be great if Jamie's cool with that.
What do you think, Jamie?
I agree there.
Okay.
I agree.
Good.
Should we move to the next question?
I have something I want to say.
Please.
So when I think about executive functioning, I look back to one of my first nights in college when they would give me a lot of homework. And I think when somebody gives me a long list of tasks to do, it gets very overwhelming for me, because it's like, how on earth am I going to finish all this in a week? So what I like to do is split up the work into manageable parts, and I do a little bit every day. It makes it more manageable for me. And at the end of the day, I was able to do it.
Turn the cards over there.
I try to do that and I still end up with something at the last minute, as you all know, because we came in here to get ready for the webinar. I was like, wait, I'm organizing my notes. That is a great strategy, Gloria, cutting it into bites. I just seem to always save one bite for last. Does anyone else have something to say on this? The next in the Q&A is from Casey Sullivan. And Casey Sullivan's, also DJ said to Sujit, what a beautiful painting. You are so available in your painting. And I think that's such a beautiful comment. I wanted to make sure that you heard that, Sujit. Casey Sullivan says, what is one thing a provider or a professional like a teacher, SLP, OT, etc., said to you that made a positive impact growing up? So a teacher, a therapist, a provider, did one of them say something to you that really helped you when you were growing up?
I was fortunate enough to have speech therapists and occupational therapists during my time in elementary school. And they always told me to never give up. I can do it. And hey, look where I am now. I've got a job. I'm earning a lot, and I'm doing a lot of things independently that I couldn't used to do back when I was in elementary school.
This is Ivanova. And for me, the people that helped me accept my disability, I think were a really big impact, because I was able to move forward in my life, and I didn't, because I was really stuck before and thought that like I was just really stuck. I think learning to just accept it and embrace all my disabilities really empowered me. So the people in my life that helped me with that, I think that was very helpful. And there were several different people.
My teaching assistant told me she was not afraid of learning to support my typing. The bold statement to connect my confidence was paramount.
Yasmin says, you really have presented a difficult question. People gave me love, but not much education. And Sujit says, I've had many great support from professionals when in school. In college too, I had some great professors. And I'm sorry to hear that, Yasmin. I feel like a lot of times secluded education is almost like a warehouse. Like they will love you and treat you well, but they underestimate and they don't want to teach you anything. And I'm sorry that happened to you. And I'm very happy for you, Sujit, that you had so much great support and went on to have professors in college. That I wish everybody could have had that kind of support. I also hope that someone else has the Q&A, because when I lost connection,
Okay.
I lost all of the backlist. I have the one new question that's come through, but I hadn't looked through all of it. So let me know.
We had some comments. One is from, it looks like Kaushik Krishnan. He said, it is a great presentation and eye-opener. Thank you and loved being a part of it. This is from Nicholas Moore. I think I know Nick. That is a grave travesty. Thank you, Ivanova. Do you feel there is a path set before you to begin the hard work? I think he might have been talking about what you said about mental age theory.
Yeah, this is Ivanova, and I feel like it's God's calling in my life to try to change this, because I feel like that's what he's called me to do, is to try to end this theory and show the harms of it for the community. Because and I've started the work. I've written several articles. One of them's I got to write a research article with the Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin University had a journal. I don't remember the name of it on top of my head, but I also wrote an article for NAS magazine around the harm, and it just goes through the harms of mental age theory. And I'm faculty for the University of Washington LEND program, Leadership, Education, and Developmental Disabilities. And I've been able to really educate the University of Washington medical community on the harms of this theory. And I'm continuing to work on them. And I'm hoping that I can get all of the medical colleagues to stop the use of that theory. There's still, I think, still work to do, but I hope that I can continue and meet with more medical leaders and work with the medical colleges and universities to try to help them understand that there are better ways to explain intellectual disabilities. There's so many better ways to explain our support needs that does not take away our life experience. Mental age takes away my life experience. It says that, 20 some years of my life experience didn't happen because my brain stopped. My brain doesn't stop. My brain and my body grow just like anyone else's. And we need to recognize that for all IDD people. And we should not be using things like IQ and, they can't read. It's like there's many non-disabled people that can't read or don't read that are not treated like children for it. And also the way that, it's even like, questions how we even treat children in a way, too. But that's a whole different matter of ageism. But absolutely, our life experience doesn't go away, and it does. Our life experience deserves to be recognized. And so I'm hoping that I continue this. I can continue this work for the long term, and I hope that someday I can be speaking at every single one of the medical universities. Like I hope someday I could be at Harvard, speaking at Harvard and telling all those Harvard doctors, don't use mental age theory, never use this again. Like make them do a pledge, I'll never use mental age theory. That's my dream.
Yes,
get it striked out of the medical books. That's my dream.
That's my dream, that you're able to accomplish that.
We'll support you.
My facilitator was not afraid to learn to develop the connection with me. She was very bold in my confidence to communicate.
We have another question from Eric B. Croft. I should have asked people to explain their connection to autism, but oh well. I really like the painting behind Sujit. Can you describe what the painting is?
Oh, he answered really quickly.
There you go.
My painting behind me is titled My Scene and Somber State. That's scene, S-E-E-N, like to view. My scene and somber state. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Do you see the question from Sandi McClennon?
I do not.
Okay.
The first one that I see is another question from Casey Sullivan.
Okay, now let's go here first. So Sandi, she said, I'm going to repeat Barbara Jensen's question, which we didn't, for some reason, didn't come down to us. I think she said, how did you learn to type with more than one support person? I think it's really important.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Sujit says, I had seen the question and was ready. Oh, about the painting. I had seen the question and was ready with the answer. Very, very good. You're way ahead of me, Sujit.
And while they're answering that question, I will say from DJ, if I'm creatively improvising in innovative circumstances, I enjoy it.
Beautiful. Yasmin says, give me a primetime show, Ivanova. I think the two of you would be a great team on knocking out mental age theory, because you both have such valuable and poignant things to say about it.
That would be epic.
I was
Wow,
not
so,
allowed to have the same facilitator in school. I learned the hard way.
so they forced you to be with different facilitators all the time. You had no choice.
Yes.
Wow.
That's great.
That is one way to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Sujit wrote, it is just practice, practice, practice with as many facilitators.
Great feeling, but it was very long.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are typing. I don't want to interrupt them, but Nicole Medeiros, art therapy and therapeutic photography would be amazing technique for reducing anxiety. She's an OTA, an occupational therapist.
One of the artists I helped to produce a National Geographic Click story about autistic artists, and one of them was a photographer. And she used photography exactly that way, that it brought down her anxiety, and she shared these beautiful photographs of her world, and like just an amazing photograph of a shower. And you wouldn't imagine that just shower water coming out could be so beautiful, but her photograph was gorgeous. And then she talked about how showers help her to regulate anxiety and stress. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree that therapeutic photography is a great idea. Sujit says, that is what it does to me when I paint and write poetry. I imagine so, yes. When I write, it really helps to ground and center me. Writing probably gives me a lot of the feelings that painting and writing poetry give to you. Jamie wrote, I love that, Nicole. I also paint and sculpt and work on the wheel. I love the camera as well. When you say work on the wheel, do you mean pottery? Yes. So our next question, we have Casey Sullivan again. How do you feel about how the neurodiversity movement is presented online? Do you think that AAC users and those with higher support needs are left out of some of these conversations? Excellent question. Oh, and Yasmin says, having overwhelming feelings of connection with my fellow panelists. Sujit says, happiest when getting my thoughts out through art. Thank you. So the current question is the neurodiversity movement. I'm guessing you're all familiar with the things the neurodiversity movement says. Do you feel like you get left out as someone who types to communicate or has higher support needs? Or do you feel like the neurodiversity movement is including you?
It is Ivanova, and for the last 3 years with COVID, I felt really left behind by the neurodiversity movement. I felt very left behind because a lot of the people supported the lockdowns and restrictions, and they were very harmful to me and other autistics that lead more, especially intellectually disabled autistics. A lot of us can't wear masks and have sensory issues on our face, and our exemptions and accommodations were not respected, and a lot of people, especially those who were in supported living, were really restricted in their just daily lives. Like, they didn't even get to go outside for months on end. and that's cruelty. And I felt really left behind by the neurodiversity movement when I tried to call those things out, and people end up attacking me, and it made me really sad. And so I do think there are things that need to be worked on accommodation, and not everyone could do the same thing. One side does not fit all. So that's just my honesty and what I experienced.
Thank you for sharing that. During part of the pandemic, I was working for an agency in Durango, and I noticed a lot of people were saying the same things, that they weren't able to get the help that they needed, and that they felt like people weren't taking them seriously. So thank you for sharing that. We have some typed answers. Jamie says, well, it's just hard to have people understand the work of typing and communication as true access of intelligence. I believe you. It's a lot of work to type, to communicate. And Yasmin is on the previous topic, says, my art is wishful. It gives me a way to use symbolism to show what I'm thinking about. That is lovely. And in case it wasn't clear, I want to make sure y'all know it's absolutely okay to be answering an earlier question. I'm trying to make sure to leave time for everyone to answer, but if you didn't get your words in, just keep saying them. It's absolutely okay to address a topic. We've never fully moved on from anything. Some more typed answers. Gloria says, I feel that the pandemic has really harmed students on the autism spectrum because social interactions were extremely limited. Absolutely, I agree. And Sujit says, yes, I feel that because my communication takes time, because I type to communicate, I often their feeling of being ignored. And that is tragic and awful and angering. And I absolutely believe you, Sujit. People, including myself, we have a hard time being patient and slowing down. And I feel sorry for the people that don't slow down enough to get to know you, because they are really missing out.
I'm honored that I get to work with I'm honored I get to work with all of y'all. Thank you.
The feeling is mutual.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I'm very honored to have met you all and to have spoken with all of you to discuss our views.
Max, do you want to read DJ's response to the multiple facilitators?
Well, DJ's dad, Ralph, says hi to everybody as well. Hi, Ralph.
Hi, Ralph.
And DJ says, I learned to type with multiple facilitators by having multiple paraprofessionals and friends typing with me throughout my day. And thank you, DJ. DJ said that I have a gorgeous name. Thank you so much. I'm blushing now.
You don't look like you're blushing.
It's the heat. It's the 80-degree heat.
It's the heat. I'm red anyway. Yasmin says, just so hard if you're typing. My frustration is really that I never feel included. And that is so hard. It's so isolating. Sujit says, I'm so happy that there's a feeling of harmony among us.
Nicholas Moore. Nicholas says, can you tell family members what it is like when they are learning to type with you?
Jamie says, I really feel the strong connection of communication
with everyone. I wish we could have a connection group of intelligence.
Well,
yes.
We'll explore that.
I think that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Really evident evident in the hope there. Very evident in the hope.
For those who are wondering how Jamie types, because you can't actually see him typing, he's typing with two hands by himself, and he says each word using word prediction, I think, right, Jamie?
Oh,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Jamie's amazing.
Having the information of just typing to connect.
Say the whole thing, Jamie.
Yes, having the information of typing to connect.
Good.
Yasmin says it is such a great way to show their love. That's in answer to Nick, the question about the family typing with you. And Sujit says it is a strong feeling of anxiety when a family member is learning to type, Nick. Could you say more about where the anxiety comes from?
Very different in the engagement of knowing typing with two hands.
Yasmin says, certainly Sujit, but so very wonderful. And Sujit says, it is the so many thoughts that are waiting to be said that causes my anxiety. That makes a lot of sense.
That reminds me when I was non-speaking, when I first adopted, there were a lot of things I was scared of, but I couldn't tell anyone that I was scared. So I just melted down and just started screaming, making sounds, but nobody knew what I was saying, but I would just like babble, scream, meltdown kind of thing, because I couldn't say that I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what was going on when I was taken out of the institution. I got to be on a train for the first time and a car for the first time, and it was very scary. And so I melted down when I remember like screaming in the car because I was scared of the windows. And I've never just scared of the windows for some reason. Then when we gained on the train, I thought it was a big metal monster eating me. And it was going to eat me. And I was like, we're getting eaten by a big metal monster. Then we were inside the train, and it was like, oh, there's like beds in here. And and my parents made it really funny. I was like, okay, this is weird. We're like in the stomach of this monster, and well, fine. But I couldn't tell anyone, and so I could only do it through my body language, and that was how I communicated. So I think it's important that body language is recognized too, and for people who haven't got the access to typing, I think it's really important that we really train professionals and providers that you need to really respect people's body language, because that is communication, and a lot of times that's not respected.
Jamie has something to say, and then Lisa has something to say.
Anxiety was great in the challenge of assumption that I was intelligent.
Could I hop in here? Hi, I'm Sherry, Jamie's mom. Lisa, and one thing you said, I don't want to, I want to be very clear that even though Jamie types independently and does two hands, he still needs the proximal support of somebody he's comfortable with and confident.
Yeah, yes.
That piece is still going on.
Yeah. I wanted to say something that I'm working with some very young children, 3 and 4 years old, and they are starting to type. And I think if you can reach these children early and give them a way to express themselves, the behaviors that develop usually as secondary characteristics, they may not develop because the person is not becoming frustrated about not being able to express themselves. So if we can get them early on before they manifest these behaviors, I think it would go a long ways to helping people.
Frustration and meltdown are directly connected. It's like leaving a pot on the stove too long until it boils over.
Exactly.
In the chat, Sujit says, when I type, I do type two-handed with a slight touch on the upper arm. Would you like to say anything about what the touch on your upper arm helps you with?
Good question.
And Jamie, you can read what you wrote.
I was in my tender years when I started to type, and it was terrifying.
Why was it terrifying?
Because I showed the emotions of my mind.
It was terrifying to let people see those.
But it's a hard choice.
Absolutely.
BJ calls Jamie the unsung hero of the AAC/Communication Liberation Movement.
The high honor.
TJ, we are cohorts of the heart.
Nicholas wants to know what can help the family members relax when they are learning to facilitate with you. And I think Sujit, yeah, here we go. Sujit has an answer. It is the touch that keeps the movement going and I do not get stuck. Thank you. So like knowing someone is there helps keep you focused and moving with the communication. That sounds very helpful. And while you all are addressing Nicholas's question about helping your family members relax during facilitation, DJ says, I love that metaphor, Ivanova. Thinking and speaking in metaphor is a gift of ours. DJ says to Lisa, I agree. I so loved my $17 labeler from Staples when I was learning to read and write as a little kid. Judith Cudworth tells us that Hannah said, I like to hear from all of you.
Char Brandon.
Yeah, Char Brandon has a question for you, Lisa.
She said, thank you so much to all of you. This is a great discussion for Lisa. Are you seeing schools changing in their understanding of autism and their acceptance of typing? Yes and no. Yes and no. I'm working every day. I've got several kids at all different levels of school, and it's an ongoing process. But you know, when you have somebody who's typing and saying every single letter out loud before she types it, it's pretty hard to say that it's not her. They still do, but you know.
So many devices, DJ, subjected to my success.
I have known so many people who started with facilitated typing and moved on to independent typing, and the things they said didn't change, and the way they said them didn't change. That I am 1000% convinced that people using facilitated communication are the ones communicating. I've just seen too much evidence to believe otherwise.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Max, we're going to have to wrap this up soon.
Oh, okay. A way to help new facilitators is to joke. And yeah, you're right. Time is running away from us because this is so awesome. So anybody that's in the middle of typing something, finish what you're typing because we have about 5 minutes or less. My watch is never exactly accurate. Who has the accurate time? I've just been
I
using.
have 12:53.
Yeah, mine says 12:53.
Very strong statement, Max.
Thank you, Jamie.
Oh, that's a very strong statement, Max. Nice, Jamie.
So we have 7 minutes. Also, DJ had another comment for Jamie. Where was it? After saying that you're the unsung hero, DJ said, "I know, but you are a hero, Jamie. I am simply a man." And Nicholas said, "You too are our heroes." And DJ said, "Being in the belly of the monster on a train," to Ivanova. But yeah, DJ is an amazing. If anybody here has not heard of DJ, which would blow my mind because he's so famous, he is just this wonderful, wonderful poet and advocate for the liberation of communication.
His name is DJ Savarese. So
Yes.
I think he has published
Everyone.
things.
Yeah, he has several books of poetry.
Yeah.
And he's either in
Best.
university.
Best of real. There's the best of real people. DJ, it's the journey of everyone as the best of real people.
Oh,
I
that's
agree with that. I've always been taught it's never about the destination. It's always about the journey. And I think this really takes that home very well.
Sujit says, "I think the family members may have to do some breathing techniques and yoga, maybe." That's a good suggestion. And Yasmin says, "This has been such an honor. Thank you all."
That's probably a good place to wrap up.
I think so. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Discourse we share.
Oh.
I love the discourse we share.
Yeah,
Take
I liked it too. Learned a lot of new things too, actually.
All right, I'm going to say something. Thank you, everybody, so much for participating in this. This turned out even better than I thought. Remember, next month, fingers crossed, we're going to have another webinar, this time from the parents' perspective. So we just have to get that together, and then we'll certainly send out the flyer for that. You are all so wonderful. I love these panelists. I love the audience. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Jamie, you're going to have the last word, I guess.
Excellent.
Oh, Sujit said, "I love this discussion."
Thanks, everyone. It's very excellent in my heart.
Okay. All right. With that, we will say
Thank you.
Bye.
bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.